a book written by Maxwell Maltz. He was a plastic surgeon turned author, and he wrote this book because after years of experience as a plastic surgeon, he came to realize that self-image is very important for a patient's happiness. Let's take, for example, there are two patients who have had a similar injury. So they both burnt their faces. They have burnt scars, and they went to Mr. Maxwell Maltz to have plastic surgery performed so they can have their face fixed. Let's assume he gave the same results to both patients. What he came to observe is the patient that has the self-image that their face is fixed will go through life content, feeling confident, and loving what they look like, while the other individual who still perceives that has a self-image of a burnt face will go throughout life feeling judged, having low self-esteem because they still see themselves as this quote broken unquote person. And so those are really important lessons that he learned, and that's one of the biggest reasons why he wrote this book. So there are really two big takeaways from the book: is your self-image determines your present and your future, and also to learn about and how to use your servo mechanism to accomplish your goals. So your servo mechanism is essentially your brain's GPS to achieving your goals. And in the book is split into 15 chapters, and one thing that was phenomenal that the publishers did is after each chapters, there's a section where you write your 5 key takeaways from the chapter, and also to write down your case history. So your case history means that you observe in your personal life some things that are reflecting on what the chapter spoke on. So in this video, I will share with you guys my takeaways for each chapter and also my case study. And you guys will also have the opportunity to write down your case study and see how some of these things have been reflected in your life. And if you want to share, please do share. I would love to see and learn from you, from your personal life too. So chapter 1, the self-image, you key to a better life. Key points to remember: if you can remember, worry, tie your shoes, you can succeed. Goals that our own creative mechanism seeks to achieve are mental images created by the use of imagination. You have a servo mechanism. This means you can either succeed or fail based on what you visualize. I learned as much, if not more, from my failures as my successes. You must have an adequate and realistic self-image that you can live with. So, really, from this chapter, the way I see it is that the GPS that we have is based on the images, on the destination that we put. So if we're putting our self-image or a destination to a worthy ideal, then we will get there. And if we put it to negative, somewhere we don't want to go, we will also get there because our brain will find a way to get there. So do make sure that we are visualizing the correct thing. And also, you must have an adequate and realistic self-image that you can live with, something that makes you feel contentness, something that will allow you to get to where you want to go. So my case study, which based on all the things written in the chapter, is before the self-development journey, I had a very bad case of body dysphoria and slash self-esteem. So for a really long time, my self-image was that of somebody who was extremely obese. My self-image was that I was 300, 400 pounds and that I was very unattractive. So that's how I perceived myself. And what would happen is if somebody gave me a compliment, they said that I was handsome or they said I was cute, I would think to myself that they were lying to me, that they were either being nice or they were being sarcastic, or there's even the word cute became an insult to me. I thought that this was something that people say when they're talking about children or like pets. So because of my self-image as this person that wasn't worthy of these compliments, it became twisted inside my mind. And one of the things that I've come to learn throughout this journey and I've been implementing is giving myself permission to think I'm handsome. So I changed my self-image. The conversations I have within myself are not negative. I do not tell myself that I'm unattractive. Now I do think I have a generally handsome face. So when somebody tells me I'm handsome in the present, I accept it. I do not deflect it. I do not try to tell myself no, they're lying. I accept and I agree with them. Right now, I do see myself as being a little too fat, which is fine. I'm working on that. And not just I'm changing my self-image to seeing myself as lean and working towards that goal, which is, again, using the server mechanism to get there. I would love to hear what your case history based on the 5 things of chapter 1, which is the self-image is your key to a better life. Chapter 2, discovering the success mechanism within you. Key points to remember. Think in terms of the end result and the means whereby will often take care of themselves. So that's, once again, thinking about your server mechanism as a GPS. The GPS guides you to where you want to go. You just put your destination and it guides you there. Do not be afraid of making mistakes or temporary failures. Server mechanism uses negative feedback. Skill learning is by trial and error until a successful motion, movement, or performance has been achieved. Continued success is accomplished by forgetting the past error and remembering the successful response so that it can be imitated. You must not wait to act until you have proof. You must act as if it is there, and it will come through. Do the thing, and you'll have the power. Emerson. So, my case history. So, selling the Green Books app idea was something that actually allowed me to experience all the ideas of chapter 2. During our pitch competition, I had this conviction that we were going to win. I saw us winning. So that facilitated us the journey of actually achieving our goal of winning. There was no stresses because I was confident that our win was going to be there. This also came again when it came to actually selling the idea to people for money. I wasn't focused on rejection. So whenever rejections did happen, whenever those things happen, it was a way for me to understand how could this product be better and how can I pitch this better. I've also learned to pay more attention to the successes because there were failures. It's just, after reading this book, I realized it wasn't worthwhile to focus on the rejection. And all those rejections, like I said previously, are there to help me get better. Like, one of the things that these failures taught me was actually to ask for the sell. How important it is to ask for the sell. So that's for any selling environment. So whenever you are selling something, you must ask for the sell because it's the only way for you to get the sell. If you don't ask, they can't say yes. And I would love to hear what your case history is. Have you observed, have you done something similar where you've learned from failure, which I think we all have. So I would love to learn to see and read some ways that failure has helped you get better. Chapter 3: Imagination, the first key to your success mechanism. 1. We are always acting out a role in life. We can act out the successful person that we want to be. 2. Find a successful memory, no matter how big, to support your new self-image. 3. Imagine how you would feel if you already had the sort of personality that you want to be. 4. Before you can change, you must see yourself in a new role. 5. You must have a clear mental picture of the correct thing before you can do it successfully. So my case history. One time that I experienced one of the principles in this chapter, so that would be principle number 5, was for one of my Toastmaster speeches. There was a speech that I had to do, a prepared speech. I was struggling to figure out what I was actually going to speak about. And during that time period, it was the first time I started reading this book, and I remember that idea of visualization of the end goal. So what I did was during that time period before the speech, I would just imagine having a successful speech, having people clap, having people say how great the speech was, how important it was, like that it influenced them in one form or the other. So after spending time visualizing this, the day came where I actually had to do my speech. And it went according to what I visualized. People were clapping, people were very glad to have heard my speech, and I actually had people come up to me to tell me that it inspired them to take action and inspired them to become Toastmasters. And so that was something that I was like, wow, this book is actually true. It's the truth. Maxwell Maltz has observed and shared in this book is useful to my life. I would love to hear your case study. Have you seen something? Have you done this before? Have you just visualized the end result and just kind of let it happen? If so, let me know, and let me know when and how you did that. Chapter 4: Dehypnotize yourself from false beliefs. 1. Physical relaxation, practice daily, brings mental relaxation, and relaxed attitude then enables us to better consciously control our automatic mechanism. 2. The best way to break a habit is to form a clear mental image of the desired end result, and to practice without effort toward reaching that goal. 3. Adler passively accepted the evaluation they had placed on him, and his grades in arithmetic proved they had been correct. Number 4. Replacing the negative belief with a positive belief that he had a message of extreme importance that he alone could deliver, no matter what he looked like. Number 5. It is no exaggeration to say that every human being is hypnotized. Either ideas he has uncritically accepted from others, or ideas he has repeated himself or convinced himself to be true. My case history. So for me, I relate to number 4. So before starting this YouTube channel, I had a couple of fears. One of my fears was that people would be annoyed and distracted by what I thought was my ugly face. And another one was I feared that it would bring no value, that people would be, once again, annoyed that I was speaking and there's nothing of value that would come out. So one thing I told myself, I didn't tell myself at the time that I was handsome or anything like that. I just told myself that, okay, it does not matter if I'm ugly. People won't care. Even if they care, it's going to be very little. What they will care about, if they do listen to this, is whatever value they can get out of it. And I thought that, being ugly does not take away from being able to create content. That being said, I also was afraid that I would create just bad content. And I started watching and listening to Alex Hormozy, who said that if that's a fear that you have, then the most important thing to do is just to create more content, more bad content, because eventually, after enough repetition, you will start creating good content. And so that's what I've decided to do, is just to create more, not be bothered by the idea that it's bad, and aim to be better and just create more. I'd like to know what you learned. Have you seen that in your life where somebody said something about you and you essentially internalized it and became that? Or is there a time in your life where you faced your fear and you said that what you have to do is greater than what you fear? Let me know. Note chapter 5, how to utilize the power of rational thinking. Key points to remember. 1. Acting as if it were impossible to fail. 2. My subconscious is influenced by my conscious input, what I think is true. 3. Always think of what you have to do as easy and it will become so. 4. Decide what you want, not what you don't want. 5. Conscious rational thought is not responsible for results. It is there to set the goal and start the wheel in motion. My case history. So once again, during the pitch competition, I just held the belief that it would be easy. Like before we started the competition, there was all these ideas being shared by people around us, people that have done pitch competition before, that it was going to be stressful, that we weren't going to be able to sleep. And because we thought it was going to be easy, we had no trouble with creating the business idea. We didn't lack any sleep. If anything, it felt too easy. It felt like a breeze. It felt like we were free. It was a very, very, very nice competition because we did not go in thinking this was going to be something difficult. We went in thinking it was going to be something easy, something fun, and it became so. Have you had that happen? What is something you did that you did super simple, super easily because you thought it was going to be easy? Chapter 6. Relax and let your success mechanism work for you. Key points to remember. The forebrain is where we think, I, and feel our identity. 2. Even on the busiest day, the crowded hours come to us one moment at a time. No matter how many problems, tasks, or strains we face, they always come to us in a single file, which is the only way they come. 3. It cannot react successfully to what may happen, but to what is happening. 4. Consider the risk before the wheel starts turning. 5, which unfortunately is not there, dismiss absolutely all responsibility and care about the outcome. So my case history, for me, it's really in sales and dating. And that's where I consider the risk before the wheel starts turning. So if I see somebody that I'm interested in, then yes, I may think about it prior to our conversation. Or if it's a sales conversation, I may consider the risk. What if the prospect says no? What if they reject our product or service, whatever it is? And after that happens, one of the things that I like to do is just think to myself, what is the worst thing that they can happen? And usually the worst thing is just that they say no, or maybe they even laugh, because that's something that I feared, and I think maybe some of you guys may fear, is people laughing at you. So before you go up to that prospect, whatever, if it's dating or if it's for sales, Just accept that it could happen and just go for it. And then when it's happening, that's when actually you get to react. Like you get to see what is happening. That's when during the interaction, that's when maybe the prospect actually needs this product and they actually want to purchase, or maybe the prospect actually is not a good fit. Or if it's dating, maybe this person that you're speaking to, although yes, you're physically attracted to them, after a conversation you realize you guys are not a good fit. Or maybe you guys are a good fit, and then you're glad that you accepted the risk before going in, and you just accepted and did what you had to do. And have you observed this in your life? Let me know. Chapter 7. You can acquire the habit of happiness. Key points to remember. Habits are like garments worn by our personalities. We have them because they fit us. They are consistent with our self-image and our entire personality pattern. When we develop new and better habits, our self-image tends to outgrow old habits. 2. If you want to change yourself, let him summon those finer feelings of benevolence and usefulness. Let him make this a regular exercise, less swinging dumbbells. 3. The outward changes of my life, resulting from my change of thought, have surprised me more than the outward changes, yet they spring from the latter. 4. I keep reminding myself that all these impossible things were opinions, not facts. 5. What is happiness? A state of mind in which our thinking is pleasant in majority of the time. My case history. The outward changes in my life have been due to inner dialogue that occurs. Some of the biggest things is the clubs that I attend. I attend Toastmaster clubs. I attend Rotary clubs. And in these clubs, I'm around like-minded people. Like before Toastmasters, before I started thinking about public speaking, I had a complete fear of it, which a lot of people do. I remember the last time prior to Toastmasters that I really had to do a speech, I was trembling. I foamed at the mouth. That's how bad it was for that fear. Yet, because I started thinking of the importance of public speaking, being able to communicate, being comfortable in front of people, has allowed me to actually be there. It has changed where my body is. Like it's really because of how I started thinking inside of my mind that allowed me to find these clubs, because they were always there. It's just my mind, my internal dialogue was not there yet. And it's the same thing with Rotary Club, because my dialogue changed. I want to be able to help people. I want to learn all the time. And that allowed me to find somebody that guided me to a Rotary Club. And I went there and I realized that, yes, this is the place that I want to be. This is the environment that my inner self wants to see in the external world. Have you observed something like that? Have you seen your environment change because of what internally you think about and you care about? Chapter 8. Ingredients of the success type personality and how to acquire them. Key points to remember. 1. Faith, trust, confidence, the human expression of the God within us. 2. It is the young man of little faith who says, I am nothing. It is the young man of true conception who says, I am everything, and then goes to prove it. 3. Accept yourself as you are and start from there. Learn to emotionally tolerate inspection in yourself. 4. Use errors and past mistakes as a way of learning, then dismiss them from your mind deliberately. Remember and picture to yourself past successes. 5. You are somebody now. So this is for my case history. I would say principle number 4 really something that I relate to a lot. So use errors and past mistakes as a way of learning. So when it comes to programming, that's basically what I do all the time. Like errors happen a lot, and those errors can come from the compiler not accepting my code, the logic not logicking, or the UI not working correctly. And anytime these things happen, they just are there to make me a better developer because I learned why these things didn't work. And so the next time, I don't have to go through that same process. I know what actually ended up working. So whenever I'm doing Swift UI, like that's been something that it's been a struggle because I'm still new to it. Yet every time I do it, I get better and I remember what worked from previous projects. So when another thing it has helped to is also it actually helped with confidence because there are I like hitting walls is something that happens often, often enough. So whenever those walls hit or wherever there's a bug where I'm like, wow, I don't know what to do. I can't do this. Like I've been at this for hours, even days sometimes. I remember that this has happened before, and as long as I kept going, I was able to find a solution. And so that helps me feel confident to keep going. Is there something like that in your life where you've learned to just the, that is part of learning and share with us if there has been something like that? Chapter 9, the failure mechanism, how to make it work for you instead of against you. Key points to remember. Automobiles come equipped with negative indicators placed directly in front of the driver. To ignore them might ruin the car. However, focusing on the negative indicators is disastrous. 2. The person who holds an unworthy and undeserving self-image may hold on long enough to reach success, then be unable to psychologically accept it and enjoy it. It is an psychological axiom that constant exposure to the object of fear immunizes against the fear. 4. Thoughts and feelings go together. Feelings are the soil that thoughts and ideas grow on. This is why you have been advised throughout the book to imagine how you would feel if you succeeded, and then feel that way now. 5. His self-image was that of an unworthy, incompetent, inferior person who had no right to succeed, or to enjoy the better things in life, and unwittingly he tried to be true to that role. So in my case history, public speaking is something that I now find fun. Ask me to speak in front of a crowd, and you will hear an enthusiastic yes from me. That was not always the case. I used to be terrified to speak in front of an audience, or even to make conversations with strangers. Throughout middle school, high school, even college, during presentations, I would shake. I would tremble. You could hear my voice crack. Eventually, at one point, it got so bad that my hands were wet, my skin was cold, my mouth was foaming. It's like in movies where the director shows somebody who's ODing and you see their mouth foaming. That was an actual reaction that my body had. And the reason why I'm now able to enjoy public speaking, why I'm able to do it without feeling like I'm dying, is because I've exposed myself to that. I've spoken to hundreds of strangers. I've went up to strangers, speak to them. I've sold things to people. I've done public speaking at Toastmasters. I have been doing YouTube videos. So all these things have allowed me to feel more confident, more comfortable with public speaking. My 14-year-old self would be very happy to see me being able to do this now, because he wouldn't think he could do it, but he is able to do it because he's doing it right now. So for you, what is something that you used to fear that now you do, and it's no longer something you worry about? Chapter 10, how to remove emotional scars, or how to give yourself an emotional facelift. Key points to remember. 1. Many people who have inner emotional scars have never suffered physical injuries, and the result on personality is the same. 2. The goal of every human being should be to become a self-fulfilled person, not something you're born with, something you must achieve. 3 rules for immunizing yourself against emotional scars. 1. Be too big to feel threatened. 2. A self-reliant, responsible attitude makes you less vulnerable. 3. Relax away emotional hurts. 4. In removing all emotional scars, you alone can do the operation. 5. I can forgive, I cannot forget is only another way of saying I will not forgive. So my case history, it's around principle 5. So my mom and I, we have a better relationship. We didn't always have a good relationship. And one day I remember telling her that we were talking about the past, and I was bringing up some things that happened that I felt a victim of. And I told her I forgave her, yet what I've come to realize is that like for weeks or days, well, weeks actually, even months, I would whenever something would happen, I would bring back the past. I would say, oh, this happened where I felt hurt. And what I've come to realize, especially after reading this chapter, was that when I was doing this, I was hurting myself because I was reliving this moment. And also I was hurting my mom, and I wasn't actually forgiving her because I kept reminding her that this happened. So really being able to accept that these things happened in the past and not to care about it, now I no longer bring it up because I've actually forgiven her. Like this is something that is a forgotten thing. It's no longer, it doesn't exist. It has made a relationship much better because I'm not hurting myself and I'm not hurting her by reminding her of these things that happen that she can't do anything about. It's gone. The past is, it's already in the past. There's nothing she can do about it. I can either forgive and forget, or do not forgive and do not forget. And I've decided to forgive and forget, which just like she has forgiven and forgotten about things that I've done. And have you done this yourself? Because have you ever told somebody that you forgive them, yet you'll never be able to forget what they did to you? Because if you have, then think about it again, because if you don't forget, then you don't really forgive. Chapter 11, how to unlock your real personality. 1. Make a habit of speaking louder than usual. 2. Self-expression, a lack of it, is not basically an ethical question, aside from the fact that it is our duty to use the talents our Creator gave us. 3. Conscious can mean many things. Some people feel that wearing buttons on a shirt is sinful, and others feel guilty for not striking the head of someone. 4. The job of your conscience is to make you happy, not miserable. 5. What we call personality is the outward evidence of that unique and individual creative self. So for my case history, what I'm practicing is to make the habit of speaking louder than usual. I've had a quiet voice for a long time. I was inhibited. And so it still is something now in the present that I still am learning to do, to speak louder, because it is too common for people to ask me to repeat myself because I wasn't speaking loud enough. And I feel it also presents a lack of confidence. So this is something that I'm working on, especially because the book is reiterating the importance of speaking louder. Are you also in a similar position? If so, let me know. And if you are naturally loud, let me know how you do it. Chapter 12. Do it yourself tranquilizers that bring peace of mind. Key points to remember. 1. You also have a built in spiritual thermostat that enables you to maintain an emotional climate and atmosphere in spite of the emotional weather around you. 2. Remember, your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined. 3. You cure old habits of over response when you practice delaying the habitual, automatic, and unthinking response. 4. You are all set to spend the hour sitting quietly and relaxed, reading. You are inwardly organized for this. Now all that is suddenly changed by your response to external stimulus in the environment. 5. I affirm that tranquility is nothing else than the good ordering of the mind. Constantly, then give to thyself this retreat and renew thyself. So my case history with that is actually around principle number 4. So I love speaking to people, and sometimes I speak way too much. Like, there's something I've observed with myself. If the person, I haven't spoken to them in a long time, or somebody that I really enjoy speaking to, I will schedule a call with them. It could be a 30 minutes call, and then I have an activity to do after that call. Sometimes it's sleep, and because I just enjoy speaking, this external stimulus of having a good conversation with this person will bleed into my other activity. It will, especially if it's sleep. Sometimes I just extend the conversation from 30 minutes to 90 minutes. That's happened before, just because I wanted to speak to this person. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I'm here with you right now. And that's not good, because I organized that part of my day to follow a schedule, and yet I wasn't doing this because I allowed the external stimulus of happiness, of excitement of speaking to somebody to overtake that schedule. Your case, I just want to know, do you guys also do that? Or is there anything else in this chapter that you relate to more? Chapter 13. How to turn a crisis into a creative opportunity. Key points to remember. Few people realize just how potent such a change of attitude can be. From everything depends upon this to have everything to gain and nothing to lose. 2. We use our imagination against ourselves and make mountains out of molehills. 3. When playing by himself or with friends or in small tournaments where the stakes are low, his play is flawless, yet each time he gets in a big tournament, his game deteriorates. 4. If he said that he concentrated on what he wanted to happen, felt that he could make it happen, and that it usually did. 5. Many people have made the mistake of habitually interpreting the feelings of excitement as fear and anxiety, and therefore interpreting it as proof of inadequacy. So for our case study, this is something that a friend and I have been doing, is whenever we speak about feeling anxious about doing something or feeling nervous or that we might not be able to do it, especially when it comes to public speaking, because we both attend Toastmasters, what we tell ourselves, and it's amazing because I tell her and she tells me, well, we remind each other essentially of this principle that we are excited about the opportunity that we have to speak in front of a group. That we're just excited, like we're looking forward to this, that this is excitement. And it allows us to rewire our brain to just think that way. And having each other keep us accountable, because sometimes I would tell her that, oh, I'm anxious about speaking, or she would tell me that she's anxious about her speech, that she's not sure she's ready, and we would just remind each other that no, you just simply are excited to do this. Like, and it just makes everything just easier. Is there any hacks that you do to perform better in whatever activity that you like to perform in? Chapter 14. How to get that winning feeling. Key points to remember. All that is needed is some experience where you succeeded in doing what you wanted to, in achieving what you set out to achieve, something that brought feeling of satisfaction. 2. Try to particularly remember your feelings at the time. 3. Self-confidence is built upon memories of past successes. 4. You must think of the end result in terms of present possibility. The possibility of the must be seen so clear that it becomes real to your brain and nervous system. So real, in fact, that the same feelings are evoked as would be present if the goal were already achieved. 5. Mentally, begin to play with the idea of complete and inevitable success. So my case history, once again, it's around sales and dating. Those are recurring examples in the video. So when I first started selling as a salesperson or just for myself, what I use as to boost my confidence, to tell myself that I can do this, is just remember that I've worked retail, and technically what I was doing was selling things to people. People would come and they would hand in money and for exchange of the products that they wanted to take home. So that allowed me to think, oh, like sales is not that difficult. I've done it before. This is the same thing that happened when selling my product and service. Whenever somebody purchased, it just gave me this great feeling that I like to rethink back on and to remember and spend time remembering that feeling that yes, people will buy things from me and they have because they have already, and I can repeat this. It's the same thing with dating when it comes to remembering times where I've faced my fear of speaking to that really beautiful woman, or that time I went on a date with this person I thought was super attractive, or remembering times that women have told me I was cute, handsome, or fine, and just remembering those feelings. So it just helped to be able to speak to more people, because I know there are times where I succeeded and I just remember those times, because there are also times where it failed, and those don't help. They don't I don't dwell on these, because I've come to realize whenever I dwell on those failures, it just makes me unable to take action, because I'm like, oh, whoa, last time, no. Instead, when I think of like, oh, last time this happened, this positive thing happened, last time this person actually signed the contract, it allows me to go for more, because it has happened already. So if it happened once, it can happen again. If it happened twice, it can happen a third time, and so on and so forth. And the feeling of selling something that I created is an amazing feeling that I love and I always want to have again. So it's like I'm chasing that great feeling. Chapter 15. More years of life and more life in your years. Key points to remember. First, let us not be too proud to accept help from others or too callous to give it. 2. This is why I tell my patients to develop a nostalgia for the future instead of for the past if they want to remain productive and vital. Develop an enthusiasm for life, create a need for more life, and you will receive more life. 3. Faith, courage, interest, optimism, looking forward bring us new life and more life. Futility, pessimism, frustration, or living in the past are not only characteristic of old age, they also contribute to it. 4. The latest findings show that a man reaches his peak mentally somewhere around the age of 35 and maintains the same level until well past 70. Such nonsense as you can't teach an old dog new tricks still persist despite the fact that numerous researchers have shown that learning ability is about as good at 70 as it is at 17. 5. There was, however, one easily recognizable characteristic that all the rapid healers had in common. They were optimistic, cheerful, positive thinkers who not only expected to get well in a hurry, but invariably had some compelling reason or need to get well quickly. They had something to look forward to, and not only something to live for, but something to get well for. So sometimes I felt that life was pointless. I think it's something that many of you guys can relate to. And there were periods of time in my life where it felt like that a lot more. And when I observe looking backwards as to why these happened, I realized it's because I was focusing on negative past experiences. Or even like looking at the future with a bleakness, that it was dark, there was nothing that was positive that was going to happen. Which is something that is a big difference from when I think positively with optimism and thinking big. So being courageous and what I want to create in my future. Because when I think like that, I see time as an investment, as something great, that I can use this time to build something good, instead of this time when thinking negatively or thinking negatively about the past, where it's like time is just going to be a continuous cycle of negativity. Now I see it as it's the only way for me to actually build and carve the future that I want to see, the bright future that I'm creating, that I'm walking towards. That being said, a big thing though that I really enjoyed about this chapter was that aging is not terrible. It's great. It's amazing. It's good. And that our brain is still going to be useful. We're not going to stop learning because we've gotten a little older, that we hit 70, and then like our brain functions do not stop. We can still think, we can still learn, and we can still do. So I would love to hear your takeaway from this chapter, if you observe this in your life or people around you. And in general, what did you think about the book? And I will share the audiobook. There's a YouTube video. I'll share that in the comments, and you can also share the Amazon link for you guys to get the book. But I do think it's an amazing book that you should definitely get for yourself, and hopefully you share with us what are your takeaways from each chapter. Thank you for watching.